Hello, welcome to the Blue Room live blog. This is a live forum where 25 Perth theatre artists have been invited to share their views on live arts and theatre in Perth. Tonight's blogger is Mischa Ipp. Please welcome her.
Hi, thanks so much to Jancis and the Blue Room for having me here tonight. I'm really honoured to be invited to be here amongst people who I really respect in the theatre industry. And I felt really inadequate when I was invited to talk. So I just want to make myself feel better by saying I'm just here as a young person, just going to say what I feel. And yeah, please, I don't know, excuse any stupidities. So, just to give you an idea of what I've done in Perth, the Perth art scene, I've worked sometimes paid and sometimes unpaid as an actor, director, writer and publicist in theatre. And I am a partner with Stevie Chris Martin in a film company called Seven Centaur Productions, for which I act for, direct for, shoot for and edit for. So over these blogs, I've been having a look through them. We've spoken about a huge amount of different interesting things, including the idea of audiences. But I want to delve a little bit further into the idea of the Perth audiences. In the current situation, we all get that we're really struggling to be artists and earn a living, and most people I know my age have a day job that they don't really like to keep themselves afloat. And theatre practitioners that are more experienced than people my age often have teaching as their day jobs, not at all to assume that they don't enjoy the teaching they do, but I do wonder if maybe there was enough theatre work, would they focus purely on that? And then we spend a whole lot of crappy hours applying for funding, which rarely gives us enough money to pay for equity wages, let alone have a fully developed set, lighting design and a score produced. And then sometimes after all this, we still play to tiny audiences, which again, not to depreciate the value of connecting with a small audience. So I kind of feel like we are living a life of survival in the theatre scene, rather than a life of being proactive, making our decisions because they're the best decisions artistically or socially. And I want to forget surviving and start living. I want us to be one step ahead rather than one step behind. So, I'm starting a project. My project is called Theatre and the Colour Passion. I'll be working with a girl called Sarah Fay to make this project happen. It has 3 parts. The first part is starting up classes for professional actors to attend when they're not working, to keep up their fitness, just like an Olympian trains while they're not competing. And the second part is a theatre club, which is what I'm going to speak about tonight. And the third part is through the theatre club, a fundraiser for a documentary called An Australian Citizen's Diary, which is being made to inspire refugees and to educate non-refugees on the trauma, poverty and abused lives refugees live while they're waiting to be placed. So the theatre club. First of all, I want to credit this idea to Jeep Theatre in Cairns, Queensland. I got the idea from them, but it was awesome. So it's like a book club, but for theatre. So right now the club is subject to change as I continue developing my project, but I wanted to share with you my current plan. On the last Friday of every month, the members of the theatre club will go to the theatre together. We will visit the Blue Room, Perth Theatre Company, Black Swan, Yuri Yarkin, Bark and Gecko, Deck Chair, Total Theatre and any other theatre companies, venues we can think of. And then, after seeing the show, we will either go to a chosen venue or a coffee place and have a conversation about the show. What worked, what didn't work. The conversation will be quite structured though, so that we all are listening to each other's opinions and being able to contribute, rather than going off in small little groups. The people in and part of the play will be welcome to come and listen, but not to argue, so that they can gauge their show's effect. And I'm assuming we're going to learn a massive amount about Perth theatre and Perth audiences. But this is the part that really gets me excited. There will be an expectation of the people in the theatre club to bring theatre virgins and theatre newbies with them to the show, because I want to expand theatre audiences. So people who haven't been to the theatre or have not been very often will have a chance to see a show and then have a chance to talk about the show afterwards, and they will get an idea of what people who are more interested in the theatre consider effective and not effective. And if they hated a show, they might get an understanding as to why it was effective in some people's minds, or why some people agree with them, and therefore maybe give them a bit more reliable opinion as to whether it's worth continuing to go to the theatre. So they'll obviously be encouraged to join the theatre club, or at least come to another show with us, and then they'll be invited to bring someone with them that they think is a theatre virgin or a theatre newbie. So I've thought about what could get in the way of making this second part happen, and there are 2 main things. One, is people thinking they don't know enough theatre virgins or newbies to invite. And 2 is people being too scared to ask certain people. So to address the second one first, I'd like to invite people to get their theatre virgins passionate about the possibility of going to the theatre. Talk about what you love about theatre. For example, I love dressing up for a night out, feeling cultured, watching actors perform live, knowing that they're taking a risk and putting themselves in a very vulnerable position because something could go wrong at any minute. Knowing that I am part of the show because my reaction, whether it be laughter, concentration, enthusiasm or boredom, will emanate onto the stage and affect the players. Seeing how designers transform a simple black space, looking at their use of colour, shape, texture and noticing how it affects me. Watching the magic of a set changing in the space of an hour or more. Feeling to the core of my heart when a character is in pain or joy, feeling vibrations of the music that is played, and knowing there is a technician right there making this show sound amazing, noticing the light effects and how they can affect my mood. The storytelling. I love it when something unusual happens, like when a puppet comes out, and suddenly you get to have this massive imagination of imagining this puppet is a real thing, or when AV is used well, when you can smell something on the stage, when you're grossed out by someone sweating in front of you. So, like Joe Liu said in his blog, even though artists have no money, we keep working. And obviously, we all think that's amazing. We don't do what we do for money. We do it for passion. And that's another thing to point out to our people who don't go. There must be something amazing about the theatre if we're willing to put so much time and effort into it. To be in that presence would be really, really special. So if you can share genuinely about what you love about the theatre to someone that might be a bit reluctant, it's very likely you'll get them intrigued and hopefully even excited. If they remain uninterested or reluctant, ask them why. You may be able to help that person get past their reluctance if you don't give up. I've heard people say before that they kind of think theatre is only Shakespeare and they just don't understand it. So people have big misunderstandings about what theatre is. And if they say no, that's okay too. If you're not afraid of them saying no, well then you're not going to be afraid of asking them. Now to address the not knowing enough people, because all your friends are already in the theatre club or already in the theatre scene. If you really have a passion to expand the audience's theatre, you'll be able to think outside the square. Who was your best friend in Year 9 that you haven't spoken to in years? Maybe this is a chance to reconnect with them. Who sits next to you at work that you never speak to because they have like a weird moustache or they smell a bit funny? Maybe this is your chance to get to know your workmates. What about your family? Co-students? How about the amazingly nice shop assistant that never fails to smile when they serve you? Or even more intriguing, the arsehole. Maybe you'll be able to put a smile on their face. Finally, what about asking a friend if they know anyone that you could invite? There are so many ways that we can make this theatre club work. Let's change theatre in Perth to a place that earns so much for their audiences they don't have to worry about funding. That co-ops pay equity wages. Wow, that's awesome. Keep an eye out at the Blue Room to join this theatre club called Theatre and the Colour Passion, and don't hesitate to contact me or Jancis at the Blue Room if you have any questions or ideas about how you can be involved or how it might be improved. Thank you very much for listening.